paying studious and sharp attention to the issues that are before us, and you make a good choice. And whatever choice you make, I support you. It will be the right choice because it will be your choice. But I just want to tell you that during these months and years that I've been able to serve in the United States Congress, it's been the honor of my life to do so. I appreciate the chance that you've given to me, and I ask you for your support to go back and serve you for one more term. Thank you.
So, as you know, we've solicited a number of questions from the congregants outside, and I'd like to pose some of them to you. And as long as we're on the topic of Iran, one of the questions that came across is, should we use military action to stop the Iranians from developing their nuclear weapons?
As I indicated in my comments, I'm a strong supporter of significant sanctions, including the Iran Threat Reduction Act of 2011. I've gone beyond those co-sponsorships and that support and the vote for that bill to write to the President asking him to not just enforce the sanctions that are authorized, and the enforcement has been inconsistent, and I think that's unfortunate, but to go a step further and consider the designation of the National Iranian Oil Company, a state company. You know, about half of the revenue for the state of Iran comes from oil. And I guess what I'm saying, Mark, is that the sanctions, which have been strict, have not been fully enforced. They need to be enforced so that they can have an opportunity to work. And I would go beyond the sanctions that have been authorized to direct the administration for additional sanctions against the National Iranian Oil Company. If we can reduce the revenue to their government, and it has started, because I think the United States and the European Union are partners, and the European Union have begun to follow through on it, we should be able to do through serious political, trade, and economic sanctions what it is we're attempting.
But if that doesn't work, would you support military?
I think all options have to, what the Secretary of State would say, what the President, our current President, Commander-in-Chief would say, what I will tell you is that all options remain on the table at all times.
Another question that came in was posed in this fashion. We have spent over a decade fighting wars in the Middle East, Kuwait, Iraq, Afghanistan. Our military is stretched thin. Now there's a conflict in Syria. Should we go into Syria with military force and try to quell that and oust the current leadership and move forward?
Right. I think we need to be very, very careful and very, very hesitant. Be a hesitant for it. As Lieutenant Jimmy Clendenin served and knows a lot better than I the cost of conflict. I am one of the members of the House of Representatives who voted against any incursion into Libya in March of last year. I thought the President had an obligation to come to the people, to address the House of Representatives on the threats that were before us and what was the significant national interest and national security interest that would cause us to take such action. The President never did address that. And he, I think in violation of the law, he decided to go in without congressional authorization. So it will be up to the President, with the information he has and the intelligence he has, if he thinks it's in our national and security interest to come to the United States Congress, lay out that case. And then once the case is laid out, it's up to the United States House of Representatives to either pass a resolution or not.
Along the lines of the Middle East, do you agree with the President's timetable to withdraw from Afghanistan?
I believe that we should expedite the withdrawal from Afghanistan. I agree with just about every one of our military generals who've spoken to the issue that to identify the date of withdrawal several years in advance is typically and normally not in our strategic best interest. That strict timelines and dates essentially is, forecasting to our enemies what our strategy is. And those sorts of strategic decisions need to be, I think, kept closer to the vest than they have.
There's no question that you've been a friend of Israel. I think everybody here knows that, understands that.
I can't hear you.
People can't hear the question.
Sorry. There's no question that you've been a friend to Israel. I think everybody in our congregation that's gotten to know you knows that for a fact. One more question. Do you think that the capital of Israel should be Jerusalem?
I do. Yes.
Brief answer. I received a number of questions regarding healthcare, which of course is key on a lot of people's minds here. And one of them is quite lengthy. Starts out saying, it took roughly 100 years to get health care reform in America. It took President Obama less than one term. You and the presidential candidate, Mr. Romney, promised to repeal Obamacare on day one. And you pledged that you would see, I don't know what a donut hole is, but that's what it says, once again plagues seniors. But it seems apparent to me that there's no question that the Republican side has pledged to overturn the Health Care Act, but we haven't seen any clear-cut indication of what's going to take its place. People here are concerned about insurance for prior conditions. People here are concerned about cuts to Medicaid and Medicare and things of that nature. And I just wonder if you could comment on what the plans might be should you get reelected, what your position is on health care.
Okay, so it's a great question, and it probably was the seminal issue. Robert, how are you? It probably was the seminal issue in the 2010 election. It was President Obama's health care bill, the Patient Protection Affordable Care Act, which he now refers to as Obamacare. I always was very careful in having discussions to give it the proper legislative name. And the people spoke in the 2010 election. In a democracy we work. You take in all opinions, you listen to everybody's point of view, respectful of those who have opinions that are similar to yours and different than yours, but ultimately there's an election. And in the election of 2010, one of the messages I do believe was that we need health care reform in this country, but the approach that the federal government took in the 111th Congress was unipartisan, not bipartisan. And the approach was a bit of an audacious takeover of the healthcare system, which amounts to about 1/6 of the United States economy. There was concern in our community and across the country that while we need healthcare reform, the bill that was passed missed the mark. And it missed the mark in part because what I would refer to as healthcare reform was missing from the bill. The healthcare reform, I'll tell you what, I'll get to that in a second. The second reason it missed the mark is that the bill in its